Hello friends, welcome to SQL Server tutorial. In the last two videos, we talked about in-memory tables like global temp table and local temp table. Now let us look at the derived tables. So derived table also in memory, and let's see how we can create a derived tables. We already learned about the subquery in one of our previous subseries. There we used exist or not exist call, and in that exist call we used the subquery. So we already have knowledge of subquery. When the subquery is part of the from class, so there is a main query. Main query contains a from class, and in the from class we define subquery, and if we place a subquery in the from class, then we call it as a derived table. So that means the table is in the from class, and that from class contains a subquery. So on the fly the table will be created, and we call that as a derived table. So the table will be in memory, it will not be in a physical disk. Of course data will be pulled from the physical disk, but it will be kept in memory. The derived table is a in-memory table, and it will be wiped out when query execution is over. So unlike local and global temp table, here connection doesn't matter, but when query execution is over, the in-memory table will be wiped out from memory. So it will be a short-living table, and it is co-opted till the end of the query execution. Now let's look at the example beside. So here if you say select from titles as T, so that's one table. Here we are selecting, and there is one more select statement. So this select statement is part of the main query. Here if you see, we are selecting title ID, sum of quantity, we are using the aggregate function as a total sold from sales table, and we are applying the group by class here. We are grouping it based on the title ID. So we are getting sum of quantity from the sales table. So if there are plenty of title, let's state T1, T2, T3, T1, T1, T2. Here we are grouping the result. That means T1 will come only once. That's one group. T2 is one group. There are two T2. And what we are doing is we are summing up here. We will get sum of this T1, similarly sum of T2. So that's the purpose of this second query. So based on title, we are grouping it. So the purpose of this query will be to have T1, T2, so that will appear only once, and the title ID is grouped, and we will get the total sales quantity here. So it's simply an aggregate result, right? We know that in aggregate we cannot include multiple columns. We can keep the aggregated function and the column that participate in the group by class. So if you want to use multiple other column, we can use derived table. That's what we are going to do. So this is the aggregate stuff, and this will act as a derived table. For example, select from titles as T, inner join this specific table will act as a derived table, right? So this is the derived table, and this one is the main table or main query. So now we have the outer table ready. Outer table is titles, and that is joining with the aggregate query. And once the aggregate result is retrieved, that will go and sit in memory, since the query execution is not over yet, right? So now let's go to the main query, and in the main query, if you see, and before the select list, let us have a look at this one as well. So select from titles as T inner join derived table, and we are setting an alias name for our derived table TS. Here we are making a join on T dot title ID. So this is the outer table, right? T dot title ID equal to TS. This is the derived table result, TS dot title ID. So this title ID we are joining with the main table's title ID. Main table will come from the disk, and this will live in memory for a short period of time. And so now it will pull all the result, and from that we want only the title ID from title table, title from title table, type from title table, and total sold. It is a aggregate result from our derived table. And if you see here, the aggregate result is displayed along with other column. So here we are using the title ID, we are using the title, we are using the type. So here, if we use only this query, it poses a restriction of you can use only the title ID, because that is part of the group by class. The moment you use title, the query will throw error stating that title is not part of the group by class, or title is not used in aggregate function, right? So that's all here. Now we will go to the demo. So here first let us take this aggregate part, or we will execute only this aggregate, and this one will be kept in memory since we are using that in the from class. And we already saw about this in the previous video also. The moment I include some other column here other than title ID, I will get error. So what are all this stuff available in sales table? Pubs, tables, sales table. Let's put some column here, pay times, for example. So this will show error because pay time is not part of a group by. So if you include that in group by, then you can use that. All right, now let's close this, and here if you see, we place a main table title, then in the inner join we derive this table. So usually what we will do, from titles T as T inner join some other table that comes from this database, right? So instead here we are writing a query, and we are treating this in-memory result as a TS table. So this is a in-memory table, and we are referring that as TS. Then we are making the join with the outer query, and we are picking data from the T titles table and one from the derived table. Now let's execute this, and you can see the quantity sold, or the sum of quantities sold, is displayed along with the other detail, right? So here we already grouped it, and you can see for example, if you take only is anger the enemy, because that's the book that will get sold, I mean that got sold 4 times, and we know that its sum is 108. Right, so that's the use of this. Here we are using the aggregate column along with the other column using the derived table. So just now you saw the demo. Thank you for watching. Bye.